forum users, YouTube subscribers, and Saber fans. This is Eric from Dark Path Media with an overview and tutorial of my new Saber font entitled Hardwired. Hardwired is the first of several Metallica-themed fonts to come in a collection called The Full Arsenal, which will eventually include a Saber font inspired by each of Metallica's 10 original major studio albums. I'm producing this tutorial because, being a music-based font, Hardwired works a little different than a traditional Lightsaber font does. I'll cover those differences, as well as demonstrate how to download the files and get them installed on your Saber. Finally, I'll go through all of the sounds and synced LED effects included in the default font file, in addition to the multitude of extra sounds and effects not included in the font file, but included in the download. With plans to produce 10 different fonts in this collection, I did not anticipate each font to be especially large, at least not as large as Son of Darkness. However, as it turns out, Hardwired is larger than Son of Darkness, containing 175 sounds in WAV and LSU formats, 66 effects files in RGBW and RGBA formats, and one font file in RGBW and RGBA formats. That said, this tutorial will not be nearly as long as the tutorial for Son of Darkness was. That video went into extensive detail about the differences between RGBA and RGBW LED setups, which I will not revisit here. For anyone interested in that particular topic, I have included a link to the Son of Darkness overview and tutorial video in the forum post and in the video description below. Alright, before we dive in, let's take a look at the completed product in action to see if this sort of thing is for you. But before we even do that, here is a gratuitous shot of my new butcher. Alright, I couldn't resist that. It's a very cool saber. Back on topic, such as I did for Son of Darkness, I made a video that features each of the 175 sounds in succession, which is on screen now. Let's take a quick look at it. I've included a link to the full video in the forum post, as well as in the video description below. I also made a quick video of my Spectre with the Hardwired font installed, showing many of the included sounds as triggered by various motions, impacts, etc. Let's check out a short segment. Just by watching a short piece of this video, the difference between this music-based font and a conventional Saber font is likely evident. The usual movements trigger the sounds just like you're used to, and the files have been labeled traditionally to reflect that, but the resulting behavior differs. Instead of swings, classes, etc., being extremely short sounds laid over a core hum sound, they play different riffs from the album. The sounds were cut, edited, and organized so that things flow together in a way sensible to musical composition. That makes it a lot of fun and different from many fonts you'll have loaded on your Saber, but the way you use it should also be different in order for you to experience the best results. To explain that as briefly as possible, your movement should be more deliberate and methodical, followed by pauses so that you can hear the music. In short, this font is probably not what you want loaded if you are practicing swinging techniques or dueling. It's more of a novelty font meant to simply enjoy, show your friends, and break up the monotony of typical sounds you hear all the time. The methodology behind how the sounds were categorized and assigned are as follows. The power-on sounds are typically the beginnings of songs, and the power-off sounds are typically the ends. The swing sounds are slower, groovy style riffs, and the spins are faster, more upbeat riffs. The clash sounds are transitions and percussive segments, and the stabs are riffs that lead up to abrupt stops. The lockup sounds are the fastest, most aggressive passages in the album. The force and combo sounds are both segments with vocals, with the force sounds being shorter and the combo sounds being longer. Because each sound does not have a core hum sound underneath it, it should be noted that you can mix and match these sounds however you wish. I just happened to categorize them in the manner I did, primarily so that they made sense relative to common names for Saber sounds, i.e. clash, swing, hum, etc. Downloading these files is easy. Click on the link provided in the forum post or the video description, which is entitled darkpath.media/hardwired. And you will be taken here to the files in my Dropbox. Here, you will see 3 folders in the main directory: Effects, Fonts, and Sounds. In both the Effects and Fonts folders, you will see 2 subfolder options entitled RGBA and RGBW. The choice pertains to the type of LED setup you have in your diamond-equipped Saber. Like stated briefly earlier, I go over the differences between RGBA and RGBW in detail as part of my Son of Darkness overview and tutorial video, which you can check out in the link provided below. Simply stated, the font file and all effects files, regardless of type, are for users who have Sabers equipped with the UltraSabers Diamond controller. If you don't have a Diamond Saber, you can head straight to the sound files download and honestly, can skip the rest of this video. If you do have a Diamond Saber, haven't seen my previous tutorial, and are unsure of the difference between RGBA and RGBW, go ahead and check out that video. The short explanation is, the difference in how you achieve certain colors in the UltraSabers launcher between RGBA and RGBW can be significant, with equally different results. This is the case in just about any situation, but especially critical with the LED effects included in the Hardwired collection, as the core color is white. You want to make sure you download the font file and/or effects files that are compatible with your LED setup, or the colors will not look right. You can pick and choose the files you want, but the easiest thing to do is click on the main directory, download the entire collection, and discard whatever you don't want later. For Mac users, the file will typically download to the Downloads folder in the user directory by default. For Windows users, you will be given the option to save as and select a location of your choosing. Windows users will likely also need to unzip the files. Alright, let's open the UltraSabers launcher and get this Hardwired font loaded up on the Saber. You can see that I have split window display going on here. Reason being, I have simultaneous video running of my Spectre Saber, which is currently hooked up to the UltraSabers launcher via USB. This Saber, depicted in the right-hand frame, will provide a real-time display of all the LED effects as we go through them. Alright, let's power on and get this thing recognized. Alright, the Saber is recognized. Let's go into the font wizard. We'll select this unused slot and go ahead and load Hardwired on there. I have mine in my Downloads folder. There it is. You can see the Effects, Fonts, and Sounds folders there. As stated briefly earlier, this is an RGBW setup, so I will go ahead and select that version of Hardwired. The font is successfully loaded, says everything's okay. It says right to begin downloading all the sounds to your board, so we'll go ahead and do that. This is a big font, it's fully featured, has a ton of sounds included, so it takes a little bit of time to write everything to the board. In truth, it does take a lot more time than you're actually seeing here. In the interest of time, I've edited this video, so don't get freaked out or disappointed if it takes longer for you. That would be normal for a font of this size. Alright, Hardwired is written to the board. Let's check out all the default effects, starting with the boot. I'll expand the LED automation window and the wave file viewer so that you can see everything. There is only one boot sound, so we'll go ahead and move on to the power on effects. There are several power on effects included in this collection, but the default is number 1, so let's take a look at that. Moving on now to the power off effects. There are several of these as well, but the default is number 1, so let's take a look at that. Although rare for a Saber font, there are numerous hums available in this collection. The default hum is number 2, so let's check it out. Hum number 1 and number 2 are sustained power E chords, led by a kick drum and cymbal. Moving on to swings, here's number 1. Let's check out a few of them. Alright, there's the default batch of swing sounds and LED effects. There is one more batch, and we'll take a look at that after the defaults. There are 2 groupings of clash sounds and LED effects available as well, and we'll go over the second one later. The default is clash number 1. The clash sounds are grouped according to duration, and these are the shorter of the 2. Alright, that was grouping number 1 of the clash sounds and LED effects. Moving on now to the spins. There is only one grouping of spin sounds and LED effects, and it is included in the default font file. Here's the automation viewer for the power LEDs, and we'll take a look at some of the wave files as well. Those were just a handful of the spin sounds available in that grouping. Alright, next is the grouping of stab sounds and LED effects. There is only one of these available and also included in this default font file. We'll take a look at a couple of these wave files again. As you can see, they vary quite a bit in length. I just kind of had to deal with that in terms of programming the LED effects. Here they are. Okay, those are some of your stab sounds and LED effects. Moving on to the force effects. There are several of these, but you can only use one per font file. The default is number 6. Here it is. We will check out the rest of the force effects as soon as we're done with the defaults. Moving on to the lockup effects now. Here is lockup number 1. Nice and aggressive. Alright, moving on to the gestures. There's a ton of these too. You can use up to 5 at a time, so we'll cover these 5 default ones first. Then we'll start looking at all the other extra goodies we have. That was combo number 2. These gesture sounds are triggered by movements specifically programmed by the user. So you can program those movements as you wish. Here's combo number 3. Moving on now to combo number 4, assigned to gesture number 3. Just a couple more combos left in the default font file. Here's combo number 13. Last but not least in the default font file, combo number 15. Alright, so that is everything included in the default font file for Hardwired. So if you don't want to mess around, you just want to load something on and be ready, that's everything included. However, if you want to tinker around and explore everything that's available in this collection, we'll go over that stuff now. Starting with the power on effects. Number 1 is the default, so let's start with number 2. Short and sweet. Like I said, the power-ons are typically the beginnings of the songs. Here's power-on number 3. Here is power-on number 4. Moving on now to power-on number 5. There are a total of 8 of these. Here's number 6. Similar to number 5, just with a little snare flam there. Here is power on number 7. And the last of the power on effects, number 8. Those are all of the additional power-on sounds and LED effects you get in the Hardwired collection. Moving on now to all the additional power-off effects. Number 1 is the default, so we'll start with number 2. The power-off effects are typically the ends of songs. In fact, I think all 12 tracks on the Hardwired album are represented here. Here is power-off number 3. Power-off number 4. You might notice that I've programmed the LEDs to fade off real slow to match the decay of the cymbals. Here is power off number 5. Power off number 6. The intention with the LED effects is to match the color theme of the Metallica album, in this case, core color of white with accents of almost every other color. That was power off number 7, and of course when you're talking about Hardwired to Self-Destruct, the album's white, but the faces are like every other color. That was power off number 8. Moving on now to power off number 9. Power off number 9 is definitely the longest with that extended fade. Here is power off 10. Just a couple left. Here is Power Off number 11. And the last of the additional Power Off effects, Power Off number 12. There are a ton of choices there. You can use whatever you want, dial in your font to your liking. Moving on now to the additional hum effects. There are 4 of these available. The default is number 2. So let's start with hum number 1. Hum number 1 and number 2 are probably my favorite simply because there's no beat and no rhythm meter to get in the way of the other sounds. That said, here's the first with such a beat. That was hum number 3, and of course that will just loop over and over until your heart is content. Hum number 4 is a lot of fun. I'm going to incorporate it somewhere. I really dig the tribal nature of that drum beat, so I'll use it in one of my alternative hardwired fonts, perhaps. Moving on to the additional swing effects now, there's one more grouping available. Like I said earlier, they are categorized by time, and the reason for that is sounds that vary greatly in duration do not play well together in terms of syncing with LED lights. Basically, I separated all of the shorter sounds together and all the longer sounds together. Now let's take a look at some effects from the Swing 2 grouping. The sounds you just heard in swing grouping number 2, on average, are about a half a second to 3/4 of a second longer than the sounds in swing grouping number 1. This is also the case with the clash effects grouping. Just like I did with the swings, I separated some of the shorter clash sounds from the longer clash sounds. The shorter of the two are included in the Clash 1 effects grouping, which is included in the default font file. The longer of the two have been categorized into Clash effects grouping number 2. We'll take a look at a few of those right now. And those are just a few of the sounds included in the Clash number 2 grouping. The stab sounds already vary quite a bit in duration, and there was really no way around that, just had to deal with that. And as such, there's only one grouping of stab sounds available, which is included in the default font file. Moving on now to the additional force effects. That was force number 1. Here's force number 2. Moving on now to force number 3. Force number 4. Force 5. Force number 6 was part of the default, so we'll move on now to force number 7. And finally, force number 8. All of the force and combo effects include vocal passages, with the force effects being the shorter of the two. Next, we'll take a look at all the additional lockup effects that are available, and there are many. Here's lockup number 2. That is the longest of them all. Now let's take a look at lockup number 3. Next, let's take a look at lockup number 4. Lockup 5. The LED sequences are similar for all these lockup effects, but I did change them slightly. That was lockup 6. Here's number 7. So you're starting to see some different colors being introduced other than white. Here's lockup number 8. The introduction of additional color can make it look brighter, which is cool. Let's check out lockup number 9. I don't start off with intent to provide this many options. It's just difficult to say no sometimes. Here's lockup 10. Just a couple left. Here's lockup number 11. And now to close out the lockup section, here is lockup number 12. And so a total of 12 additional lockup sounds and effects. Let's move along now to the additional combo effects that go in the gestures section. There are a total of 15 of these extended combos. Let's start off with number 1. I'm going to check to verify to see what we had included as part of the default font file so that we don't do any needless repeating. Okay, combos 2, 3, and 4 were included in the default font file, so let's continue on and resume with combo number 5. Moving on now to combo number 6. The combos include extended sequences of both vocal and instrumental parts. Here's number 7. That's a longer one, but you absolutely have to have some good guitar solo action in there. Here is combo number 8. Yeah! Moving on now to combo number 9. Combo 10. Combo number 11. Combo number 12. Combos 13 and 15 were included in the default font file, meaning we only have one more to look at. Combo 14. Alright, Saber fans, that about wraps it up. That is everything that you get in the Hardwired font collection. In this video, we have taken a close look at every single sound and every single effect included. I sincerely hope that you guys enjoy this font file. As a lifelong Metallica fan and frontman for a Metallica tribute band in the great city of Chicago, I had a lot of fun creating it. Like I said before, Hardwired is only the first in the full Arsenal collection. I plan to do one of these font files for every single one of Metallica's 10 major album releases. That is, of course, going to be a ton of work, and it's going to take some time, but I think it'll be enjoyable, and I hope you guys enjoy all the stuff that's to come. Before I sign off here, let's take a look at this font in action again on my Diamond Spectre. We'll go ahead and get the speaker pushed back in here and get the pommel reattached. Alright, that is going to wrap it up for this video, my friends. If you do end up enjoying this font, and are looking for the others, keep your eye on the Saber forums, as I will be posting updates there. I don't have a specific order in which I'll be doing these, but I think since I've done the newest one, I think I'll do something a little bit older, something from the original 4 classic Metallica albums. Stay tuned, friends. Have a great day.
And may the Force be with you.